this week is all about childhood snacks and memories and things like that. And today we're doing the good old vanilla slice. Now, sadly, we can't get lattice biscuits anymore. They discontinued them, which I'm like, what am I going to do? But somebody suggested puff pastry as a great replacement. So what I've done is I've actually found some puff pastry in my freezer and I've just cooked it. So I've actually just I gave it a spray with some oil. You could use some melted butter, and then I cooked it for about 12 minutes on 200, and it's puffed up. You can see beautifully. They are the size of the container that's actually underneath at the moment. I'll show you later, and we're going to layer them in as our top and bottom. So there's a little way around it when you can't get lattice biscuits anymore in Australia. But let's get making with this vanilla slice. In essence, it is a really thickened custard. So I've actually just finished making my batch of vanilla. You guys know that I ran out this week and I've just made this. So I thought it was a prime time to do this recipe because I could actually leave my bowl dirty. So I can leave that vanilla in there and I won't have to put vanilla in at that step. So let's get started on this recipe. So start cooking. I'm having trouble. There's a lot of glare in this room to push the buttons. Okay, line a tray and with baking paper. So under here I have that. Next. And then it says to do the biscuits, which we don't have. Anyway, corn flour. First things first. Now you can make this gluten-free if you use or make a gluten-free puff pastry. You can use the iced puff pastry recipe and make it GF and it works perfectly fine. I've taken a shortcut today, which I don't normally do, and just use store-bought. So first up, 130 grams of corn flour. But if you are doing GF, make sure you've got GF corn flour. Okay, they're not all are equal. And I don't even know if this one is or not. It's just in the back of my cupboard, so we don't normally eat these sorts of sweet foods unless it's a super special occasion. And so my kids are finding it very interesting. I've had some really interesting feedback from the kids this week. Things like melting moments. They're like, oh, mum, they're really sweet. Things like that. And it's funny. It was just part of, our childhood to have those things. And yet, my kids don't have that sweet tooth, which I think that's a bit of a blessing. But I certainly had the sweet tooth for very many years. But anyway, that's okay. 1 week of doing these awesome things. So, raw sugar, 100 grams of that. Now, those of you who do the low carb thing, I reckon in this recipe you could get away with doing your monk fruit sweetener or alternative sugars. You could even use, it wouldn't be very traditional, but I reckon you could use things like coconut sugars and things like that. So, oh, there we go. In that goes. By the way, my vinegar from last week is still brewing away nicely back there, stirring it every couple of days. On with the lid. Now, this is not going to work. It's going to mill it down. I have a vanilla caked bowl, so I'm just going to skip it. It honestly doesn't matter whether, it's just mixing. Nah, let's go next. We're just going to skip that part. I'm very confident that with making custards, this will work perfectly fine without that mixing step. So it would be okay, obviously, if you did it, it's going to be perfectly fine. If you skip it because you've got a vanilla coated bowl like I do that's quite damp in there, then it'll also work. Okay, in with some full cream milk. Well, I've actually used powdered that I've reconstituted because we just don't have any at the moment. And I didn't fancy a trip to the shops for the purpose of. Normally, I'd actually try and go dairy-free in all honesty and do the almond milk. It's just a thing of busyness at the moment. Time has not been on my side. So, nearly done. So yeah, the beautiful thing is when you are busy, you can just work with what you've got, which, how good is that? 4 eggs, in they go. So that is the thickener. The corn flour and the eggs are what is the custard thickener in there, right? There's my vanilla. My vanilla was still coating my bowl, so I'm all okay with that. It's even on the lid. And now I'm with the lid. I'll show you the lid. You guys see that? See all that? I don't know if you can see it. All the grainy vanilla on top. And now it's got quite a long cook time. So it's got a mix time first. Let's mix this through. And then now when I go next, by the way, see this is still puffy. When they came out of the oven, they were both, vanilla on my finger, they were both super puffy. That one's sunken. I'm going to stick this one down before it cools. If I do it afterwards, you know how puff pastry flakes off and you lose all the bits everywhere? So if I do it now while it's hot, it will sweat them back on, and that's what I want. This one just naturally did its own thing. It's sinking down. So scrape down the sides with a spatula. Insert the measuring cup. So that's actually quite good. It's somewhat cleaned my lid off with that beautiful vanilla. I don't think I need to scrape down the sides. It's all just very runny in there. It looks like milk in there. 10 minutes. We're going to come back in 10 minutes time. I think we scraped down the side, and then we've got another cook time as well. So if you did want to speed up this recipe, you could of course combine the 2 cook times and just let it go for the full time. But they want us to scrape down so that we don't end up with some up the sides that's not combined. So I'll see you in 10 minutes time. If you're watching along, I'd love to know, have you made vanilla slice in your Thermomix? Are you a custard pro? Comment and let me know. If I can help you get a TM6 on your bench, do reach out. I'd love to support you to get one if you live in Australia, and then help you get the most out of it. So otherwise, guys, I'll see you in 10 minutes for the next step. See you soon. Okay, we're back. It's done the 10-minute cook, and now it says scrape down the sides with the spatula and it's going to cook a bit longer. Now it's super thick already. When you open that up, and even I've got vanilla on the lid here still because I didn't scrape it earlier. So you can see when you open yours up, it is like, I'm going to show you, look at that. Check that out. That's how thick it is. So it looks divine, but you want to get all the goodies that are up the sides into it. Wow. It reminds me of something from years ago we learned about at the branch meeting, where you'd make this whipped up cream custard mix to put in things, and it kind of reminds me of that. I think what that was called. Creme custard maybe. While that 10 minutes was happening, I actually, look at the mess I made. I actually put the puff pastry bottom in. I cut a little small bit to size as well, and I've got the top ready to go in a moment. So it's got another cook. It's got 5 minutes, so we're going to spin that up to speed 3 and off it goes. And we will return back in 5 minutes to finish this off. So I can't wait to see you soon to show you how to put this together shortly. Bye for now. Okay, so now it has done that cook time. It does say to extend if it's not thick, but this is thick. Like, let me show you how thick. Like, it does barely moves thick. So now we're going to spread this across our base, and this actually needs to cool once we put the topping on. So it's one of those things that you will have to make in advance. Well worth making though, but it is something you can't just whip together because people are coming at lunchtime. So let's put this in. Look how beautiful and thick that is. Pour that out. You don't want to leave it sit too long because of course it's going to set. Being custard, it'll just get thicker and thicker. And because eventually by the time, obviously this is 3 hours in the fridge, it's solid enough that you can cut it up into its chunks and it stays that shape. It doesn't ooze out everywhere. Now I will come back after 3 hours and I will show you the glaze top for it so that you can complete that. So do keep an eye out soon, and I'll be back to show you. Actually, let me put the top on first, and then I'll be back later to show you how to finish this off. So there we go, that's that part. Kids are gonna love licking that bowl out. Here comes our puff pastry top. This way, so I cut it that way. Might have to trim it down a little bit, so just bear with me while I do that. I think I cut it. I don't know which way I cut it. I thought I cut it to size, but maybe I put the base in the wrong place. So let's just trim it to size. Easy enough to do. So there's that bit there. We'll then put another bit in here. Because we're putting the glaze over the top, it doesn't particularly matter that it's not perfect. Would have liked it to have been a little bit more perfect. The little bit OCD in me is not impressed that it's not perfect, but that's okay. It'll still taste absolutely amazing, and I'll get some really pretty bits out on one end anyway, if nothing else. But there you go. That is what we need to do to now get this into the fridge, ready to then put the beautiful sugar glaze on top and finish it off in a couple of hours time. It does need to be set though, okay? So I can't go ahead now and do that until it is set. So I will show you the next step shortly. So we'll see you soon. Okay, we are now ready to finish this awesome vanilla slice. Now I've got it out of the fridge. It is significantly set. That is not going anywhere. And it's time to now make the beautiful royal icing. So first things first is it calls for white sugar. We don't use white sugar here. We use an organic raw sugar. So it is slightly off white. For that reason, I'm going to reverse the icing. So normally it's white with pink through it or red through it. I'm going to do red with white through it, or kind of an off-white through it. Anyway, let's mill this down. First of all, we need a really silky, smooth icing sugar that we're going to make in our Thermomix. So your TM31, TM5, TM6 can make icing sugar, usually in 10 seconds, but with this volume, we're going to go for 1 minute. So when I click on next, insert the measuring cup, and it's going to do 1 minute on speed 9, and I'll come back after the 1 minute and show you the next step. So we'll see you in a moment. Okay, it's finished, it's unlocking. You can see the sugar dust coming out everywhere. And now we're going to add to this 1 egg white. So in that goes, but look at that, that's your icing sugar in there. So 1 egg white, in that goes. I reckon if you can't do eggs, chickpea juice would also work, like that aquafaba juice. 2 teaspoons of lemon, so I'm just guesstimating, we don't need too much of that. Normally you'll see me swapping vinegar. I don't think that would work on icing. That doesn't seem quite right to me. So let's not swap that one in. And then some water, 3 teaspoons, so it's not much water. We do need to scrape down the sides though. There's a lot of mix up the sides. Just trying not to be heavy-handed on that. Now this does set, so you have to work quite quickly in a moment so that it doesn't set on you as it sits on the cake and dries out. I'm just scraping down that icing sugar all up the sides. And I'm going to mix this through. Looks delicious. Very sweet. My kids are going to be over the moon that they get to get something so crazy sweet. Okay, 10 seconds speed set. Now you can hear it coming together in there. Transfer 2 tablespoons to a bowl and put in some red colouring. So I'm going the other way because I don't have that beautiful white, there's that icing, look at that. Because I don't have white sugar to do this with, where they've actually taken the colour out of it, I'm going to go the other way. I'm going to put white in a bag and I'm going to colour the rest. So I'm going the opposite way. It is quite warm, probably from the milling step. That'll do over there. And now let's put some food colouring instead in this one. I am speeding up the process because this will set if left for too long. And we want it to set on our cake, on our slice, not in the bowl, preferably. So let's finish this up, put the lid back on. Now, normally I think it would just tell you how to finish it up. So I want to though jump out of this. I want to mix this red in so you can override a manual recipe. Just let that mix through. It's actually pink in there, that's okay. I'm sure the family won't mind, they'll just be on a sugar high. So I don't think they're going to care what colour it comes out. So we've got a beautiful pink royal icing in there. So royal icing, I best know royal icing for things like your sugar cookies. Okay, this is what you use on top of those as well. So now we want to get this out and just trying to mix in the last little bit of icing sugar on the way. And we want to spread this on top of our slice. And this is where it could get messy because I am not a patient person for this sort of steps. So let's see how we go. So spread this around. And then it needs to set for 1 hour after we finish with it before we can cut it. So the next picture you will see after this step is actually the final product. I will cut it and, oh, that was it. Okay. What's happening here is it's pulling up my icing, my puff pastry top. So probably a little bit more water would have been handy. Learn from my mistakes. You guys know I do share with you the ups and downs of cooking in my kitchen. I'm not even going to try and put any on the other end. It is setting. Can you guys see how that is actually immediately setting? So I wonder if I can get it to the corners to at least be able to get a nice panel off this end bit to show you. So a couple of takeaway tips that I would give you guys now before I flop this too badly is, first of all, make it runnier. Don't make it as thick as mine. Mine is super thick. Could also be that it's about 12 degrees here at the moment. I'm actually quite cold without my jumper on. That probably makes a world of difference as well. If it was a really warm day, I reckon you've got more play with your icing. but it's not a nice warm day here. It's quite cold. So I'm just going to run up this to make little strips, and you can even see now that's probably too thick in the sense that it's going to stick up and it's not dissolving in as part of the rest of the icing. What I'll do though is those bits on the end that don't have icing, I'm going to use this up on those. They're those little bits, if you remember when we put the puff pastry on, I had the end that didn't have quite enough. So they're the bits at that end anyway. So just put that icing down there. And then let's finish this off. Run a spoon through it, or an end of a spoon, because we want to now prettify the end. So we're just going to run down to make like they have in the picture of this slice. I'll hold this up so you can see it. It actually isn't doing too bad considering it's so thick. So there you go. So a couple of tips: do thin out your icing more than I did if you want to be able to make it pliable, especially when you are using puff pastry rather than bickies. So there you go. There is how you make vanilla slice in your Thermomix, regardless of which model. I was going to say easily and simply. It's probably a medium complexity recipe, although I hope that when you watch these videos, it gives you the confidence to give it a go. Cook your puff pastry or use an alternative biscuit if you prefer. Royal icing, a little bit thinner, will work a bit better, but there you go. And that's how you make that pretty design at the end. So I hope you've at least taken away some skills to make little pretty designs on your beautiful things that you make. So otherwise, guys, take care. Can't wait to show you tomorrow. We are doing fruit leathers. So pear and apple is what I'm going to do. And I can't wait to show you that. You can do it in an oven. You can do it in an air fryer if it goes low enough in temperature, or a dehydrator. So I can't wait to show you that final product. I do hope you're enjoying this classic childhood recipe series. Do make sure you're sharing it with friends and family so that they can see how easy life can be with a Thermomix on the bench, because it really will transform your kitchen. It'll transform what you can make, how easy you can make it, the time you need to invest into it, and ultimately your shopping bill, especially at the moment where prices are going through the roof. So, all right, guys, have a fantastic afternoon, evening. Call me if I can help you with anything regarding your Thermomix. If you're in Australia, I'd love to help you get a TM6 on the bench. So do reach out, but I will see you tomorrow for some more inspiration in your Thermomix. Thanks for joining me today. My name is Lisa.